Hi everyone, I'm Tim Sustak, Senior Vice President, Investments and Treasury for Mid-Atlantic Corporate, President of Aton Financial Management, and hosted the video series Economic Update with Tim Sustak and FOMC Update available on FInection. Welcome to Naroff Notes, our newest video series featuring our economic consultant, Joel Naroff. Joel is an award-winning and nationally recognized economic forecaster who consults with many businesses and financial institutions across the country and has appeared in several significant business media outlets such as Bloomberg, The Wall Street Journal, CNBC, and Fox Business News, to name a few. Joel, welcome. Glad to have you here.
Tim, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure doing this.
Great. We're certainly happy to have you here, and we want to ask you the question that's on everyone's mind right now, and that is, when do you think the Fed's actually going to raise rates?
You know, Tim, that's probably the $64 billion question that's out there. You don't have to be in the financial sector to be concerned about where interest rates are going and when the Fed's going to do things and how fast interest rates may or may not go up.
Right.
And indeed, economists have been forecasting for the last 2 years that rates would be going up. And I know we like to say, if we forecast something long enough, it'll happen. But this time, it's really going to happen because conditions have changed quite dramatically in the last couple of years. And now the economy has reached that point where the Fed really knows that it's positioned and it needs to raise rates. First, we got to keep in mind the Fed needs to raise rates. I mean, zero interest rates isn't very good. It's great for borrowers, but if we run into another economic problem, the Fed has no ammunition left on the interest rate side. So we need to get back to more normal interest rates. When are they going to do it? Almost certainly by the end of this year, but more than likely before that. And the reason is fairly basic. The economy, and especially the labor market, has changed so much, and to the point that we're now starting to see the one thing the Fed's looking for: wage increases. Okay? We've had very, very strong job gains, and we've seen the unemployment rate get down to near full employment, and we haven't seen wages rise up until recently. Now that's happening. It's getting to the point where the Fed recognizes, given all the announcements on the parts of companies like Walmart, that they are raising wages, that over the next 6 months, those increases are going to appear in the numbers, and people are going to have the income, businesses are going to have to pay higher wages, and that's going to trigger the inflation the Fed really needs to raise rates. So the economy has changed. Now, is the labor market really strong enough that the Fed can do this? Well, we got a really lousy March employment report. But the thing I need to remind everybody is that these numbers bounce up and down. If you go back 1 month earlier and you take a look at it in early March at the February employment report, where we got 290,000 jobs created, and what was the reaction at the time?
Yeah.
Oh man, clearly the labor market's so strong, the Fed's going to move in June. 1 month later, just 1 month later, we get a number, 126,000. Oh, the Fed's not going to move before the fall, and probably not until next year. 1 month and one number doesn't change the fundamentals. And that's what people need to be aware of. We have had strong vehicle sales. In March, we were over 17 million units annualized. We've only seen this a couple of times in the last decade. We're beginning to see the housing market come back. Don't be surprised if things like construction numbers, housing starts, and even sales are really good, not just in March, but especially April, now that we're back to better weather. Indeed, what we saw was a winter slowdown, like we had last year. Second half of last year was great. Don't be surprised if we start seeing it. And the Fed is aware of that, and as a result of that, they're likely to have the conditions and the cover in order to raise rates sometime, whether it's June, which may be a little early now, but even in July, September, sometime by early fall, expect rates to start going up.
Okay, one of the key things then too is not when, but then how fast after they start. I know a lot of our credit unions are concerned with that, is if they go too fast, that's tough to manage sometimes.
Well, it is tough to manage, and early on there's no question that the Fed's going to be very, very cautious. Indeed, I think the simplest thing for them to do is, in the first move, just simply say the range is around 25 basis points, not the 0 to 25. That's not much of an increase at all as far as rates are concerned, but it signals the first change. And then they can start off with the 25 basis point increases at each meeting. And I think they're likely to do that. The Fed has said, almost on every set of circumstances, this doesn't mean we're going to do it every meeting, and then they do it every meeting. Think about, getting rid of quantitative easing. We're not going to, cut the amount we're going to purchase every meeting, then they did it. But that also means that we have to remember they meet 8 times a year, and if all they do is 25 basis points a meeting, that's 200 basis points. So on a planning basis, even if they're pretty cautious and they do 25 basis points a meeting, rates could rise as much as 200 basis points once they start the process.
Wow, that is an increase, and it's something for our credit unions to really consider. I know in talking with them, there's a lot of non-believers out there that, we've heard these things in the past, and I think we can take it from a very successful forecaster here. Rates are going up this year, so, please take a look at your balance sheets if you haven't already, and make sure you're prepared, because it's likely to happen this year. Joel, we certainly appreciate having you here today, and appreciate the economic insight. If you want to hear more from Joel, everyone, each month, please make sure to check out Eitan's Economic Indicator, a periodic email report authored by Joel that highlights current market activities and their implications for the Fed raising rates, financial institutions, and credit unions. You can view them online or subscribe to receive these emails at www.eitanfm.com. And if you would have a specific question that you'd like Joel to answer on our next episode of Naroff Notes, please email us at economicindicators@eitanfm.com. On future shows, we'd love to have Joel discuss what's on our viewers' minds. That's Naroff Notes for now. I'm Tim Sustak, and thanks for watching FInection.